You're listening to the Government Mule podcast, a production of the Tulsa County Clerk's Office in Oklahoma. All right, everyone, welcome back to this episode of the Government Mule podcast. I am your Tulsa County Clerk, Michael Willis. Joining me today is a familiar guest, our esteemed County Treasurer, John Fothergill. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah. So we decided to do this show today because our treasurer's office does some interesting things that we want to talk about, and they're in a little bit of a kind of over the last few years, maybe kind of a unique situation in the sense that the county has inherited some properties based on people's inability or unwillingness to pay taxes, and then the treasurer has a June resale auction. I think we talked about a little bit before when we did our last episode, but we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're going to talk about the process and what happens when the treasurer's office does not get those properties sold at the auction, and then we're going to go through some of those things.
Yep.
Sound good?
That sounds great.
All right, well, let's start with just for the average person's knowledge about properties where taxes don't get paid. Give us the quick snapshot of what happens around that process.
Sure. And, as you, I'm sure, have said before, our offices are all governed by state statutes, and they require that any delinquent property that has taxes that are more than 3 years delinquent, 3 or more years delinquent, shall be sold at an auction the second month.
It's not a may.
It's shall.
Shall.
Yes, I don't have any.
You have to do that.
I don't have any choice. If I don't do it, I'm violating my oath of office and can be removed from office. And so it says that we shall sell these properties in the second Monday in June. We can start at 8 a.m. and we can keep going until all the properties are sold. And so we are required by state statute to do that. And we try our best to sell all those properties each and every year. Not always do we do it, and that's where we come into these properties through what we call the commissioner's sale process. And basically the statute says that if we don't receive the minimum bid, which is either 2/3 the assessed value or the property taxes owed and the penalties and interest owed as well, one of those two, whichever is least. And usually that's the taxes, because usually the property's worth, a significant amount of money. Mm-hmm. And so the taxes are usually what's owed. And so we go to auction. We had 270 properties that we auctioned this year, but we had 23 properties that we did not get a bid on, that minimum bid. And so state statute again says if we don't receive that minimum bid at our auction, that I'm to bid it off in the name of the county. And once that happens, we remove all the taxes and penalties on that property, and then it's up for what we call a commissioner's sale.
So what happens after the auction is that if we fail to sell certain properties, those become owned by technically the county commissioners, right?
Yes, we file a deed. It's called the treasurer's deed, in which I say we did not meet the minimum bid, and now I'm bidding it off in the name of Tulsa County. And the commissioners, as the owners of record for the county, become the owners of that property. And so we had 23 properties that fell into that situation this year.
So 23 properties, and in the last few years, we've kind of been operating at none of those, right? We've had zero almost.
Since 2021, when I started doing these auctions as the treasurer, we have not taken any properties. We did have a property that was on the books prior to that. It's been on the books since 2014. So we have 24 now that are available for this commissioner sale. But yeah, we've had crazy real estate markets there in the early 2020s. Where everything was snatched up and nobody cared what it was, which was great for the county because we did clear all these off of our books. And so we love that because as the treasurer, I'm also charged with taking care of these properties and maintaining them and making sure they're mowed. And if they have a structure on them, which thankfully none of these have a structure on them, but if they have a structure on them, I have to secure that structure and make sure it's, protected, that the public can't get in there and hurt themselves or something like that. So I I believe in Oklahoma County at one time, they had over 300 properties that they were taking care of. And so they had a full-time staff that was doing nothing but maintaining these properties. And fortunately, in Tulsa County, we haven't had any properties to maintain except for that one since 2020.
So generally, that leads me into the next question about these properties. You mentioned there's no properties with structures on them. What types of properties are these usually that we inherit from this process?
Most of these are little pieces or remnants of properties. There might be a reserve. We have a couple reserves that are in here that are pieces that when property gets developed, they might put a piece, like we have a center of a cul-de-sac, and it's one of these. And so the developer put that in the name of the neighborhood association at some point. The neighborhood association decides or neglects to pay their property taxes for 3 years, and then I have to sell that. So, somebody in that cul-de-sac may want to put a basketball goal out there for their kids to play basketball, and so they may want to purchase that and, have that as their property from there on out. So, our goal is to get these properties back to ownership outside of the county and have those people pay the property taxes there on out and maintain them from there on out. So
okay. So as we start to think about marketing these properties, your office takes the lead on that, of course. Let's talk a little bit about what that process looks like.
So we don't really advertise this much except for, this podcast here, and we'll probably put a blurb on our website that says that we now have properties available for our commissioner sale. And so we rely on the public that has interest. On our webpage, it shows properties for sale, and you can click on our former properties that we had in the resale or these commissioner sale properties. And so these are the only ones that are available right now. And so hopefully people are finding these and deciding they want to bid on them. And if that's the case, that starts a whole nother process that leads us to the commissioner sale. So
when do we anticipate we'll start some commissioner sales?
So the properties are now available. It's online, and so it's anytime somebody decides they want to bid on one of these, they come into our office and they fill out the application. They put down a deposit, which will cover the publication cost and the filing fee for the deed. And
we'll come to our office.
Yeah, we want to make sure we pay you for that deed. And
appreciate that business.
Yeah. We have them deposit that money with us. And if they are the successful bidder, we just roll that into their purchase price. If they are not the successful bidder, we'll refund that back to the person that initiated the process.
So for today, like people that are interested in starting to research these, they would go to your website.
Yep. Go to my website under the June resale. Underneath that, it says Commissioner Sales. And if you click on that, there's the list of properties. You'll pull up a list of properties, and some of them don't have addresses, and so it's by a parcel number. You can take that parcel number and go on your locate website or the assessor's website and get a GIS location of that. Since they don't have addresses, you can probably assume that they are not a residence or a substantial piece of property. Most are platted and have an address that have a house or a structure on those. So you can even tell just by not having an address that most of these don't have that type of situation.
So for them to do the research, they can search for Tulsa County Treasurer John Fothergill on pretty much any search engine, or go to treasurer.tulsacounty.org.
Yes.
Is the treasurer's website. So check that out. One of the tools that we integrate with the treasurer's office, John just mentioned, is called Locate, L-O-C-C-A-T. Land records organized by county clerk, assessor, and treasurer. So you can look up some of that stuff on our map-based system there, and you go to that by going to our website in the county clerk's office, which is same type, countyclerk.tulsacounty.org. But people can also call the office too.
Sure.
Ask questions.
We'll be happy to answer any questions that we can, or direct you to the website where you can find that list. And we have the we have several people that are trained up in this process. We haven't done it in 5 or 6 years, so they're dusting off the books and making sure that we have everything up to date. As a matter of fact, one of our rules that in preparing for this podcast, I noticed that it says that you cannot be an employee of Tulsa County. And we actually changed that rule when I came into office. That says you cannot be a employee of Tulsa County Treasurer now, but any other employee in Tulsa County can bid on these.
I think that was a state law change several years ago, wasn't it?
Yes, and so we've adopted that and we just hadn't updated these because we had no need to, that we haven't had these sales in a while. So now we're going to update that and make sure that anybody that works for Tulsa County can bid on these except for the treasurer.
Are there any other requirements people need to know or think about before they want to become a bidder or a buyer?
Well, yeah, we only take cash or money order or a cashier's check from a bank. That's the only form of payment we will take. You have to pay us immediately after you win the bid. You can't say, oh, hold on a minute, I need to go get the money out of my bank. You need to have it on you at the time of your bid and once you win. If not, then we're going to the second bidder and seeing if they have the money to be able to pay right then and there. Other than that, you have to be 18 years old at least. You have to be a resident of the United States of America or a company that's been formed in one of the 50 states to be able to purchase this property, bid on this property. And like I said, you have to put up that deposit. It's a little less than $200 usually. Just depends on if there's a big legal description that we have to put in the papers, because we have to run this in the paper for 3 weeks prior to the sale. And so we have that sale in our lobby out front. We started at 9 a.m. I think it's usually on a Monday. And so we'll give everybody the notice, put it in the paper. Sometimes we have just the bidder show up, and sometimes we have a room full, and we just never know until that day. So, but it's once we do that, we file the deed. We have the commissioner sign off on it, file the deed, and then send that out to the new property owner and put it back on the tax rolls.
So, what advice do you have for people that are that are interested in this?
Make sure that you know what you're bidding on. In the past, we've had some that had an address as a kind of a location, like to find where it was, but it wasn't actually that address. It was maybe a piece that was next to that address. And so do your homework, make sure you know what you're bidding on. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. Or, go on that locate or the assessor's website and find out all the information that you can about that property before you come in and bid. Once we take that bid and you paid for it, there are no takebacks. Nope. Once it's done, it's done. And we cannot reverse it because it's a legal sale at that point.
Now, have we ever in the past had people that participated in either the auction or these commissioner sales that might be mad after the transaction's over because they didn't do their due diligence?
Oh, sure. After the auction, usually somebody will come up and say, hey, I bid on this piece of property, and well, we had one that stands out real big for me. It was in South Tulsa, like 81st and Sheridan. And the assessor's website showed a house on there, but the city of Tulsa had come in and demolished the house because it had been vacant and had, structural deficiencies. And so it was a nuisance to the neighborhood and to the city of Tulsa, and so they just demoed it. And the website still showed a house. People thought there was a house, but if you drove by it was an empty lot. Yeah. And so when we sold that property, people were bidding like there was a house on there and paid, it was more than $250,000, I believe, for an empty lot. And so, they were upset, but I can't change that fact. And, I often say, well, there was at least 2 people bidding on that lot before that last bid came in. Yeah. So, there was 2 people that didn't do their homework, obviously. Yeah. And so it's unfortunate, but there's nothing I can do once the auction has concluded. It's a done deal.
So do your due diligence. Go lay eyes on the property. don't just get on one of the map programs. Don't get on just and view the photos that might have been there from when the assessor last assessed the value of the property, because that happens physically at least once every 4 years.
Yeah, those
Lots of
pictures
things can change in 4 years.
can be 4 years old, and that house will look beautiful 4 years before that. And now it was, a raised lot because it had trees growing up through it in those 4 years. So
Yeah, so make sure you do your due diligence. Let's see. What about are there any other misconceived ideas, misconceptions, mistakes that people can make through this process that we want to try to get them to avoid before they participate?
well, we want to make sure that they've done their due diligence, of course, and that that they have filled out the application, that they are a bona fide, somebody that can bid on that property. You have to fill out the ownership affidavit, which is a new requirement for the state of Oklahoma that says you are able to purchase property in the state of Oklahoma. And so, make sure that all that paperwork's done. We will need an ID to prove your age, or you are who you say you are. So we need all that information as well.
So, what do you think's the best thing about the outcomes here? Like, what are these commissioner sales good for? Why are they good for our county, and why are they good for the communities?
Sure. So, it gets the property back into ownership outside the county, and so hopefully, those people are responsible and pay the property taxes, and that keeps our county functioning, and our schools functioning, and our cities functioning. And so we want to put those properties back on the tax roll, because when the county owns them, we're getting no value out of them. We're not using them, we're not improving them, and we are paying to maintain them. So it's a drawdown on the county to maintain these properties, and so we want to be able to get them back into private ownership, and to allow those people to use that property for its best use. And so it really helps everybody out when we get rid of these. Helps the county as far as increasing our tax rolls. It helps the citizens, and that the county's money is not being used to maintain these properties. And it helps the property owner to be able to use that new property for its best use.
So whenever you do get these properties sold, of course, there's a major benefit, as you said, in getting them back on the tax roll and back owned by a private individual or a business. But how do the funds work that come in through the sale? So you receive funds and revenue through the sale. Then what happens to those funds after you receive those?
Those go back into the general fund and are able to be allocated by our budget board. And so that allows us to reduce the amount of funds that we'll need next year by whatever that amount is. And so I always like to tell people that, these dollars, can add up. Some of these won't sell for much. Maybe you can buy them for as cheap as $1 plus that advertising cost. That's our minimum bid is $1, and so you can buy them for $1. But at the end of the day, it's less cost on us to maintain them and to keep trying to track these properties as well. So it helps us out all the way around.
So one of the overarching messages here is, even you could own the center of a cul-de-sac, or maybe part of a neighborhood reserve, or something that might otherwise be noticed or noted as an easement or something like that, for as little as $1. And so, some people might be interested in just doing that for the sake of being able to own the center of a cul-de-sac.
Yep, and it's the beauty of America. You get private property rights, and even these little pieces of property have private property rights.
So after this, I'm gonna have to go look at that list and see if there's something I could put me a street sign up in the middle of something.
There you go.
Something like that.
And they're all over Tulsa County. They're not in one area necessarily. They're Broken Arrow, Sand Springs, Tulsa, all over the place. So,
what are some of the closing things you'd want to add to this, John, as we wrap this thing up?
Well, we appreciate being able to get this message out. I'd hope that anybody that's interested in investing in real estate would check this out as something maybe to look at. Or if you're a property owner that's next to one of these little pieces, it might be a way to increase your property right where you are. So if there's anybody that's out there interested in checking these out, come to our website, check them out, and if you have any questions, give us a call or come in, and we'll be happy to talk to you.
What's the main number for the treasurer's office?
It's 918-596-5070, and you can call us anytime, and we'll be able to answer any question.
All right, that, or go to treasurer.tulsacounty.org. Check out all the stuff related to this, and again, this will also be a good advertisement for the 2027 June resale, which generally you all start to populate the list of tax delinquent properties around what time?
May 15th is when we try to have that list out to everybody. Those properties, we start out this year, we started out with 3,000 properties, and we only ended up selling 270. And we don't know which of those properties we're going to sell because we don't know who's going to come in and pay and who's not going to come in and pay.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we're going to sell whatever properties aren't paid on that second Monday in June. And, they walk out of that sale as new owners when they purchase those properties, and put those tax dollars back to the taxing entities, back to the schools and the cities where they belong, and put that property back into somebody's hands that we hope that will pay the taxes going forward, and keep it out of our sale.
And take good care of the property.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, everyone. Well, this has been the latest edition and episode of the Government Mule podcast. Again, my name is Michael Willis. I'm your Tulsa County Clerk, joined by Tulsa County Treasurer John Fothergill today. In closing, check out information on the commissioner's sale at the treasurer's office. We've got 23, 24 now properties that will be up for sale, and John will promise to try to get this podcast cut and squared away pretty quickly so we can get it out into the media by next week or something like that, so we can get this information out, and be looking for those commissioner sales coming up soon. Again, go to tulsacounty.org, treasurer.tulsacounty.org, call the office to check out more about this. When you have a chance, follow Tulsa County Clerk, Tulsa County Treasurer, and our other officials on our online stuff, including the Facebooks, the Instagrams. What else we do around here?
That's all we have at the treasurer's office.
Yeah, so check us out on that. And again, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Government Mule podcast. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.